Hey YouTube, it's Dimitri, and today we're going to discuss one of the biggest questions I get, which is really hard to answer for every single individual without me talking to you for at least half an hour to an hour. And this question is, why can't I get a job? So I hear this a lot from candidates. I see people friends I have on LinkedIn, Facebook, they're graduated, they're excited, they have an undergrad, master's, PhD. Anyways, they're out of college of some sorts, and they say, I went out, I applied for hundreds of jobs, and I just can't get a job. I've been applying for 6 months, and I'm getting nothing, or I'm getting, a bunch of HR interviews, but nothing's really coming out of it, or I made it to a few hiring manager interviews, and I'm still not getting the offer. Dimitri, what is going on? So I think it is important to analyze more or less where you are in this progress of getting a job, because so many people view it as you either have a job or you don't have a job, instead of looking at it like there are steps in getting to the job, and then even in career development there are steps after that on where you are to getting your next job or getting to that next accomplishment, even within the same company. So let's dive right in here and talk about the 3 big steps to getting the job. First is the resume or cover letter. Second is your HR interview, and third is your hiring manager interview. So you need to decide which step you're getting stuck at to figure out where the problem is. For the resume and the cover letter, there are 2 main issues, which is 1, you're applying for jobs that don't match your resume, or 2, you have a poorly written resume or cover letter. So first off, if you're applying for jobs your resume doesn't match, this is easy to diagnose. You need to look at the jobs you're applying for, look for the skills that are on your resume, and look at the job descriptions you're applying to. If they don't match, like the skills on the job listing do not match what is on your resume, this is probably the problem. You probably have the background, you have the experience, which is why you're applying for the job. But the problem is that you just don't have your resume written very well, and your resume is basically a marketing tool for presenting you. So if you have experience, for example, programming in Python, doing statistical analysis with the pandas package, but that's not listed and the job's actually looking for it, they can't read your mind, they don't know. Don't rely on them to go to your LinkedIn and look. They might only be looking at resumes quickly and just throw out your resume because you don't have those skills listed. So that's the easiest one. The second one is the poorly written resume or cover letter, and this is really hard to diagnose. It can be challenging to fix if you don't have a lot of experience writing resumes. So 3 main things that are basically in a poorly written resume are you're missing key experiences and skills that you actually have. And that ties into the fact that you're applying for the wrong jobs. But the reality is, if you are applying for a job doing, say, mergers and acquisitions or investment banking, and you have all these skills listed on how quantitative and how smart you are and how much computer science skills you have, that's great. You're a really smart person and you might be a perfect fit for the job. But typically investment banking jobs are looking for softer skills or more business analytics, like typical corporate finance, accounting, internships, and other investment banks, for example. But if you leave these off because you don't think they're important, it can negatively affect if you're going to get a job, because again, you're missing the key skills and experiences this person is looking for. The second biggest problem is bad formatting. Formatting your resume is controversial. There are lots and lots of different formats you can write your resume in. However, first off, your font should be clear and easy to read. Second off, your spacing should be good. And a lot of people don't realize this. When you get a resume and it's packed from top to bottom with lots and lots of typing and conversation and all your skills crammed into one page, it looks terrible. And someone who actually looks at these, I don't want to read through 2-3 pages of nonsense, so keep it short to 1 page. Also the white spacing. If I can quickly jump into your resume and go, okay, I'm gonna look at the experience, yep, looks good. Go quickly down to the education, that looks good, and then go down to your skills and your other add-ons at the end of the resume. If I can find those quickly and I can quickly judge if you're a good candidate or not, that's key. So if you have a ton of information, I'll start reading it and then probably get frustrated that I'm reading very long, drawn-out conversations on a resume, which is a quick marketing document, I'm just gonna toss it. Like, I don't have time to read through each and every little point and spend lots and lots of time. If your resume has good white space and it's easy to read stuff and find things, I'm more willing to read the entire thing because I'm excited to read the resume because it's easy to read. And then tying into that, so the third problem with a poorly written resume or cover letter is that your bullets are too wordy. So again, if you have like 3 bullets that make up your entire resume, they're basically paragraphs and stories. That's great, but a resume is not supposed to be a book or a story or a short story. It's supposed to be a quick way to show an employer or potential employer that you have exactly what they're looking for. So for cover letters in general, these again should be written simple, to the point. It should cover basically where have you been, what skills do you have, and how are you going to help the company, and basically why are you going to be a good fit for their company in this job specifically. If you do this and it's very, very wordy and long, again, people aren't going to hire you. If it's too short and you don't have all the information they're looking for, they're not going to hire you. So the key is reading it, have friends read it, have other people you don't know read it maybe, and see what their opinions are on what they think of the cover letter in general. Again, you should probably customize each cover letter to specific companies, but it's okay to have like a general template and then customize specific parts for each company. So the second main topic is HR interviews. So let's say you're sending out resumes and cover letters and you're getting a ton of HR interviews, but you can't pass that step. There are typically 4 main issues with this. One is you have too many details. So when you call HR, their job is basically to see if you match the job description. So the resume says that you have all the skills. They're gonna talk to you on the phone and make sure that you do have the experience you said you had. So when you talk to HR, don't confuse them with a long story about this experience you went on. They don't care. They just wanna know, hey, can you program in these languages that we require? Do you have experience doing the job? Do you have these other soft skills that we're looking for? Do you work well in teams? Right? They're looking for just the basic checklist that the hiring manager gave them, so keep it simple and to the point. The second one is that resume doesn't match the interview, and so you're missing skills or you're lying. So if the HR asks you, do you have, experience using R, and you say, oh, no, I don't, but I have experience using SAS, and I've done all these projects, and you tell them this story, that's great. But the problem is if you listed on your resume you have experience in R, that's a big no-no. Like, they're going to know that you don't have the experience, and something as small as that can just ruin your chance, and they'll just toss your resume and move on to other candidates. The third one is unprofessional behavior. So again, interviewing is like having a conversation. You want it to be like casual and upbeat and exciting. However, sometimes candidates are either monotone and they sound really crappy and they're not excited to be at the interview. And when this happens, then HR and other hiring managers don't want to hire you because the fact is it doesn't sound like you really want the job. There's a whole list of unprofessional behavior. I'm not going to go into listing all of it, but be professional, be excited, and the last point is the lack of confidence. So this goes into being excited and happy. If someone's interviewing you for some skill set and they ask you about it and you're not real comfortable talking about it and you sound like you don't really understand what's going on, they're not going to hire you. It's pretty simple. You don't have to be like a super extroverted, crazy excited, in-your-face, intense person. You can just be confident about what you know. So when they ask about stuff on their resume, just get to the point, answer their questions, give them a little bit of detail for HR, but not too much. But be confident that you know what you're talking about. And then the third main hang up here is that you're getting resumes and cover letters sent out, you're getting the HR interviews, but for some reason you're never getting the hiring manager interviews, or you're only getting 1 or 2. So this means that you have a solid resume, you have a good cover letter. This means you understand how to give short and sweet answers to HR, things that they understand, so they're checking the box and they're passing you on to the hiring manager. Now, if you can't pass the hiring manager interviews and you're not getting that actual offer at the end of the day, there are a variety of things that can cause this. So the first one is you have, again, lack of confidence. If you don't sound like you know what you're talking about, they're not going to hire you. And don't be a know-it-all either. So this goes on the opposite side of overconfidence. I see candidates when I ask about, hey, can you build me a statistical model? let's build an OLS model and start from there. And I have them kind of like walk me through what they would look at, what they would test. A lot of times students will just start listing things off. Like they're not mentally thinking about the problem and problem solving. They just want to show me they've covered like all these topics and stats, and so it doesn't apply to what I'm asking. And this is frustrating because now I know you're overconfident, and two, I'm confused on if you really know what I'm asking because you're not answering the question and you're just giving me other facts, or if you are really smart but you just don't have personal skills or those soft skills that are required to work in teams. I'm confused, I'm not going to hire you. That happens a lot with students because they lack the experience in interviewing and kind of career development. The second part ties into this, which is like lack of skills and lack of experience. If you're applying for an entry-level job, do not try to emphasize your internships and make that like the vast majority of your resume and talk about how experienced you are. Companies hire students because they have a good academic background from a good education, and they know you don't have experience, and they're looking to either train you or they're looking for someone with your skill set and your level of experience. So when you try to say you have more experience than you do, a lot of times managers will look at this and go, no, they think they're really good at this, they think they have all this experience, but they're not really going to fit in and do the tasks I want them to do. They're going to want to do other things that they don't have the experience or the skills needed to do. So the lack of experience and the lack of skills is a problem, but also you don't want to overstate what you can do, and then you either get the job and you can't do it, or the hiring manager realizes you can't do it and then just won't make the offer. And then again, unprofessional behavior, just like in the HR interview, if you show up to an interview, you're not dressed correctly, you don't look good, you don't smell good, you don't talk good. If you're not prepared for the interview, they will know. And it's hard because everybody has a little bit different expectation what an interview candidate should arrive like. I'll make a video on this again. I have a lot of people asking about, Dimitri, how do I prep for the interview? How do I get ready for this? What should I be doing? What should I be wearing? I'll cover that in another interview, but you can also look, I'll put a link below in the description as well on like the How to Get a Job series I created. There's a lot of videos in there on actually how to dress and how to interview, but those might be helpful. But again, try to be professional, be upbeat, be excited. And then the last piece is that sometimes there are just other more qualified or easier placement of candidates. So what do I mean by this? You could interview for a job, do amazing. So HR loved you, you interviewed with 3 different people at the company, one of them being your hiring manager. They loved you, and then you wait for like a couple weeks and you get a rejection, right? And then you're like, Dimitri, like something's wrong, I'm broken, I didn't do it correctly, I need all this help, I don't know what's going on. Okay. Well, you need to assess the situation and figure out, did they like you? If it seems like they liked you, it's probably not that you did anything wrong. It's just there was an easier placement or someone that fit just slightly better. So for example, you might be a banker, you might have a great academic background, you might have this experience in banking. However, the job might require maybe one really specific skill that you have, but you only have a year experience doing it. You might have another candidate come in and interview behind you or before you, and they might have everything you have, but that one thing that they needed, they have like 2 or 3 years experience. And so for a hiring manager, it's hard to select candidates sometimes when you get a lot of good candidates. And so they're going to be looking at very, very small, minute details, and that might be why you didn't get the job. So don't beat yourself up on any one of these 3 steps of either the resume cover letter, the HR interview, or the hiring manager interview. Sometimes there's just better candidates. And again, these tips should help you try to figure out where you are in the process and where you're failing. If you can't figure out where you are in the process, that makes it difficult because you're just applying to lots of jobs, but you don't understand what's breaking down, and so you can't fix what's broken. So I would encourage you guys to analyze what you're doing. Why are you applying to so many jobs? Why are you not getting interviews with HR? Why are you not getting interviews with hiring managers? Why are you not getting offers? And then try to diagnose exactly what the problem is, and then work on improving that section. So I hope you guys like this video, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and as always, until next time. Thanks for watching my video. If you find it helpful, please like, share, and subscribe.